Hi everybody, it's Zoe, Style Blueprints Grammar Girl. This week we are talking about doubles. Double possessive, double or joint possession, and the double negative. 3 little mini lessons. Let's start with the double possessive. So there are 2 ways that you can show possession. One is with the word of. So fine wines of Napa or top of the page. And the second one is with an apostrophe S or just an apostrophe. We've gone over this in another lesson. So the confusion arises when we use both ways to show possession in the same sentence. So a friend of Julia's. You've got the of and the apostrophe S. So here's your general rule. If the thing that's doing the possessing is alive, a person was alive or is alive, you do use the apostrophe S. If the noun that's doing the possessing is an inanimate object, not alive, you do not need the apostrophe S. You will just leave it at the noun. Here are 2 examples. A friend of my brother's. So because brother, who is doing the possessing of the friend, is alive, apostrophe S. A friend of the local library. That one would just stay a library because the library is an inanimate object. So you would not need the apostrophe S. In general, I would say if a sentence has a double possessive, just rewrite it. Get one of them out of there. On to the second rule. This one trips a lot of people up. When multiple nouns own something or possess something, how do you show that in writing? First, joint possession. So the 2 things have joint possession of whatever the thing is. Jack and Jill's pail of water shows up a lot in the nursery rhyme. 1 pail of water, Jack and Jill own it. Ross, Joey, and Chandler's adventures and friends are hilarious. They generally share those adventures. So when that happens and multiple people have the same thing, you only need an apostrophe S once at the last noun. So what happens if you have multiple nouns that own separate things or possess separate things? If that's the case, each noun needs to show possession. So each noun would need the apostrophe S. Lucy's and Henry's schedules are so crazy this week. Both Lucy and Henry have a schedule, but each schedule is different. So for that one, it's not Lucy and Henry's schedule, unless they share the exact same schedule. It would be Lucy's and Henry's schedules. How about this one? Our CEOs and our CFOs' educations are impressive. Our CEO and CFO have different educations, so they have to each have the apostrophe S at the end. If you take one thing away from this episode, this is what I want it to be. What happens if you have a mix of nouns and pronouns? Here's what I see all the time. Chloe and I's anniversary is today. I apostrophe S. Never, ever, ever, ever will there ever be an I apostrophe S, y'all. Never, okay? Even though that this sounds like it should be correct, because you would say, Chloe and I celebrate our anniversary today. But when it becomes a possessive, each item, if you have a mix of names and nouns and pronouns, has to have its own possession. So how do we figure this out? There's a really easy trick. You're gonna separate Chloe and I, and then write the sentence that way, then see what your pronouns are, what your possessives are, and put them together. Chloe's anniversary is today. My anniversary is today. So Chloe's and my anniversary is today. I know it's a mouthful, y'all, but never, ever, ever and I apostrophe S ever. This is Joe and I's issue. Nope, nope, nope. This is Joe's issue, this is my issue, this is Joe's and my issue. Each entity has to have its own possessive. The third and final section, we're talking about double negatives here. And I know that some of y'all might be thinking, I don't use a double negative, Zoe, like I ain't got no money. That's a double negative, but that's a very overt one. There are some that can sneak into our language without us realizing sometimes. Basically, it's 2 negative words in a sentence that come together to create something opposite of what you're trying to say. Most often, you're gonna find the word not or no, a version of that. So cannot, don't, can't. And then the word no, so it could be like no or nobody or nowhere. We also see double negatives in music all the time, like the Rolling Stones, I can't get no satisfaction. Marvin Gaye, Ain't no mountain high enough. Cage the elephant. Ain't no rest for the wicked. Bill Withers. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. I could go on and on. So we all can see that those are blatantly double negative, but what are some of these sneakier ones? Words that you might not think to be negative, like barely, hardly, or scarcely. When those are combined with negatives, they actually create a double negative, incorrect double negative. All double negatives are incorrect. We can't hardly wait for the party. 2 negatives. No. We can hardly wait for the party. 1 negative. We can't wait for the party. 1 negative. Arizona had scarcely no rain last year. When I say it, it kind of sounds correct, but of course it would be scarcely any rain last year. You can't have scarcely and no next to each other and mean that there was barely any rain. So I'm gonna go through a couple things in conclusion, just 5 bullet points that I want you to take away. 1, if 2 names jointly own something, 1 apostrophe after the last noun. If 2 or more nouns own separate things, apostrophe S after all of the nouns. If 2 or more nouns jointly own something, but you've got a pronoun, each entity has to show their correct possession without the other one. Number 4, never ever ever say blank and I's blank. I apostrophe S is never ever correct. Use my. And number 5, avoid saying or writing can't hardly or can't barely or scarcely no in your writing, and you will avoid some of those double negatives. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Can't wait for the next episode. Hope you learned something today.